We're recording now.
Okay, thank you everybody for joining our public hearing today. My name is Eric Willis. I'm with the Montgomery County Department of Transportation Property Acquisition Section. We have Richard Dorsey here, who's going to be our hearing officer, and I will turn things over to him for his initial remarks.
Greetings and good afternoon to all of you. It is now 12:31 on the 15th day of December 2020, and we are conducting this hearing virtual via Zoom. We are here for a public hearing of abandonment petition AB 773 to consider an application received from Miles and Stockbridge PC on behalf of applicant Equity One, seeking to abandon a portion of Westbard Avenue at Ridgefield Road rights of way in Bethesda. My name is Richard Dorsey. I am Montgomery County Exec's designated hearing officer with the Department of Transportation. This right-of-way abandonment hearing is being conducted pursuant to Chapter 49-62F of the County Code. My role in this abandonment process is to write a report and make a recommendation to the county exec concerning the applicant's petition for abandonment. In order to do this, I will be considering statements made at the hearing, written comments received within the comment period. Comments will be accepted until December 29th, 2020 at 5 p.m. and documents submitted to support or explain a position. My report and recommendation will then be forwarded to the county exec for consideration. The county exec will then forward the report and the county exec's recommendation to the county council. It is the county council which will decide whether to grant or deny the applicant's petition for abandonment. Those who wish to submit written comments, please submit them to Eric Willis at the Montgomery County Department of Transportation, 100 Edison Park Drive, 4th floor, Gaithersburg, Maryland, 20878, or email them to eric.willis@montgomerycountymd.gov by December 29th, 2020. There are a few ground rules that we must cover before Mr. Willis introduced the abandonment petition in the record. First, please turn off or silent your cell phones. Second, as an issue of decorum, all participants will be given their due consideration. Those seeking to offer comments following the close of the petitioner's case for abandonment are asked to be mindful of the time and the limits their comments to the relevant matters. Such comments should be confined to less than 3 minutes. If an interruption occurs, I will give the individual their first warning. If there's a second interruption, I will give the individual a second warning and they will be muted. If the same individual receives a third warning, that person will be removed from the call. And if there are several people making interruptions, I will close the hearing. Following Mr. Willis's introduction, the applicant will submit its case and why it believes the right-of-way should be abandoned. After the applicant has completed its case, those who have registered to speak will be afforded the opportunity to make their relevant comments. I now introduce to you Eric Willis, Chief of Montgomery County's Department of Transportation Property Acquisition Section.
Thank you, Mr. Dorsey. Again, good afternoon, everyone on the call. As he indicated, my role in this, I'm the Chief of the Property Acquisition Section for MCDOT. My section is responsible for administering the request to abandon public rights of way. I've spoken, or at least communicated with some of you in the last couple of months, sort of addressing comments and collecting statements and so forth. As Mr. Dorsey noted earlier, this process is governed by the county code. Article 49, Section 6. The county council may abandon a public right-of-way if it finds that the right-of-way is no longer needed for public use or anticipated future public use, or if the abandonment is necessary to protect the health, safety, and welfare of the residents near the right-of-way to be abandoned. Those are the issues we're going to be focused on today. In this case, the applicant, which is Equity One Northeast Portfolio LLC, has requested that portions of Westbard Avenue and Ridgefield Road rights-of-way be abandoned because they are no longer needed for public use or anticipated future public use. The applicant's request is being made in connection with their proposed redevelopment of the Westbard Shopping Center. Specifically, as part of that redevelopment, it's proposed that the Westbard Avenue is going to be realigned, coming from River Road, connecting, I guess, hooking back up to Westbard Avenue as it curves around, and we'll see an exhibit about that shortly. And as a result of the realignment of the road, there will be certain portions of the existing right-of-way that will become excess and no longer needed for public use. So I'll leave it to the applicant to, as part of their presentation, to speak in more details about that, but that's the basic background as to why we're here. This hearing was authorized by the county executive's designee, and as part of our administrative process, we've provided requisite notices to other public agencies, abutting property owners, and the public at large. As part of that process, we've collected a number of exhibits. I will now introduce those exhibits into the hearing record. My colleague, Ms. McCrae, can pull those up. We can go through them in order.
Hold for 1 second. Ready when you are.
Okay, Exhibit A is the letter we received from Miles and Stockbridge on behalf of Equity One, requesting the abandonment. Exhibit B is sort of a sketch showing in blue the areas of the existing right-of-way that are going to become excess. The area in red shown on this exhibit is actually land that's to be dedicated by Equity One to allow for the realignment of Westbard Avenue, excuse me. Exhibit C, aerial photo of the existing conditions. You can see River Road to the right, and then Ridgefield coming off of River, and Westbard sort of running parallel to River. Exhibit D is Executive Order 12720, authorizing today's public hearing. Exhibit E is my email to the requisite agencies and utility companies requesting comment on the proposed abandonment. And then we have the following exhibits, which we can just kind of go through one by one, are the responses from the agencies. Exhibit E1 is a memo from DOT's Development Review Committee. Exhibit E2 is an email from MCDOT's Traffic Division. Exhibit E3 is an email from Verizon. So, you know what, if we can go back up to those, I'm going to just briefly summarize what they say. Just the Development Review Committee is recommending approval of the abandonment subject to certain conditions set forth in their memo. The email from the Traffic Division again has certain conditions regarding the proposed abandonment. The areas to be abandoned, including portions of existing road pavement, ensure that underground utilities will be relocated accordingly. And also indicating that the future realigned intersection of Ridgefield and Westbard may be a signalized intersection, and ensure that there is an easement to allow that to happen and allow placement of signal equipment. The email from Verizon to the E3 is just noting that they have been in, they're aware of the development and aware that their facilities will be relocated as part of the redevelopment and the realignment. Exhibit E4 is an email from WSSC indicating they don't oppose the relocation and abandonment as long as it doesn't impact their facilities. They're also noted that they're aware of the redevelopment. Exhibit E5 is email from Washington Gas. No objections to the abandonment. Again, they've also been coordinating with the proposed developer, with the developer for the realignment. Exhibit E6 is an email from the fire marshal's office indicating they have no additional comments to the abandonment. Exhibit E7 is an email from Montgomery County Department of Permitting Services indicating they have no additional comment on the proposed abandonment. Exhibit E8 is correspondence that I have had with PEPCO. They've indicated that they would be opposed to the abandonment if it meant that they would have to relocate the facilities. So I don't know to what extent PEPCO has been involved with the redevelopment effort. Perhaps the applicant can speak to that. Exhibit F is a letter from the planning board indicating that they would approve the abandonment. And then exhibits F1 through 3 are attachments to the letter we received from the planning board. That included letters that were submitted as part of the planning board hearing, which was held back in November, I believe on the 19th. There's additional correspondence in exhibit F2. And F3 was the planning board staff report that they submitted prior to that hearing on the 19th. Exhibit G was the notice of public hearing that was sent out from our office to various owners and community associations. Exhibit H is a copy of the mailing list. These are labels that were that we addressed and sent notices to. I hand wrote in the two that you see there. I printed out the notices and left them off, but we did send notices to those people as well, who are at least one of which is an abutting property owner. Exhibit I is the proof of the ad that ran in the Washington Times on December 1st. Exhibit J is proof of the ad that ran the following week, December 8th, so in the Washington Times. The remaining exhibits are statements or attachments that members of the public have submitted for the record. Exhibit K is a testimony of Cynthia Green, who I believe is also signed up to speak today. Exhibit L is testimony from Lynn Battle on behalf of the Westbard study group. Again, I believe she is also signed up to speak today. There are actually two that we received from Ms. Battle. One, I think the first one, the exhibit L, was what she had submitted to the planning board hearing. And then she also submitted testimony for today's hearing. Exhibit M is a statement from Michael Chen Young, voicing his statement on the abandonment. Exhibit N, email I received from Peter Mitchell. Exhibit O, statement received from Phyllis Edelman. Exhibit P, an email received from Alicia and Farid Kaduri. And exhibit Q is an email received from Raquel Shehan. Conclude the exhibits that we have for today's hearing. I will now turn things back over to Mr. Dorsey. Who appears to be muted.
Hold for 1 second, I'll get him out of there. Let's see, Mr. Dorsey. All right,
I'm
yep.
unmuted. Okay, at this time, we'll hear from all public comments. Just a reminder that you have 3 minutes to present your comments. And
I think we need to hear the applicant's case first.
okay, sorry, apologize. We'll now hear from the applicant, Miles and Stockbridge, Equity One Northeast Portfolio LLC.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Wait, get unmuted. Erin Gerard with Miles and Stockbridge on behalf of the applicant, Equity One Northeast Portfolio. With me today, I have Kevin Johnson, who's a civil engineer who has testified in front of a number of bodies in the county as an expert witness in civil engineering. He's been the project engineer. And then also with me is Sam Stiebel, who is with Regency Centers, who's the parent company of Equity One Northeast Portfolio. So make that clear. I have a PowerPoint to share. It says host disabled participant screen sharing.
No worries. Give me 1 second.
Okay.
All right. Can you give it a try one more time?
Okay, can everyone see that?
Yes, ma'am. Good to go.
Okay. So this is just the cover slide. So obviously our letter that we submitted that's in the record covers the basis for the request and includes a number of exhibits, but just for ease of reference, we wanted to go through some of the high points of the abandonment request. So as probably everyone on this call knows, the realignment of Westbard Avenue was a primary recommendation coming out of the 2016 Westbard sector plan. I've highlighted, I understand it's small, but I've highlighted some relevant pages from the sector plan that calls for that realignment. Following the adoption of the Westbard sector plan, Equity One Northeast Portfolio came through with their development proposal, which included both a preliminary plan for all of the parcels under their ownership, as well as the site plan for the main shopping center parcel where the Giant is today. And coming out of that approval, the planning board recommended, as you can see, condition number 18 highlighted, that the applicant abandon the portions of Ridgefield Road and Westbard Avenue that were no longer necessary after the realignment takes place. As noted, I know that's already included in the record, but this is the planning board's recommendation of approval of the abandonment request. I also just wanted to highlight that the Equity One owns all of the parcels that adjoin the areas to be abandoned, but there is one area that abuts single family homes on Ridgefield Road. And however, as part of the dedication of the plat back in plat number 4456, back in 1965, I think it is, the dedicated area came off of the shopping center site. So therefore, once it's abandoned, it will revert back to the successor, who is Equity One of the shopping center. With that, I'm going to turn it over to Sam Stiebel, who can kind of just give you a brief recap of where we've been and where we are now.
Thank you, Erin. Good afternoon, everyone. As Erin said, my name is Sam Stiebel. I'm with Regency Centers, and we're the developer of Westbard and parent to the applicant, Equity One. I'll try to be brief and don't want to be too repetitive, but just wanted to provide a quick background today. Before I jump in, Mr. Willis, just wanted to follow up on the PEPCO item. Similar to the other utilities here, we've been working with them, and we're happy to provide confirmation after this hearing if needed. With that, I'll just give the quick background, which is the 2016 Westbard sector plan, as well as our approved preliminary plan, as Erin mentioned, both require the realignment of Westbard Avenue. The realignment will connect existing Westbard to River Road at the current intersection with Ridgefield Road. And the new alignment will cut through our existing Westwood 2 building and require dedication by us of just over an acre of land there. We're currently moving through the design and permitting process for the new road and plan to begin construction as soon as next year. Once work is complete, the abandonment of the old road can then become effective. With that, thank you all very much for your time. I'll be available to answer any questions you may have.
Wonderful. Next, we would like to turn it over to Kevin Johnson.
Good afternoon. For the record, my name is Kevin Johnson. I'm president of Johnson Burnett Associates. I am a licensed professional engineer for over 30 years. Johnson Burnett Associates has prepared the plans and studies that have been presented as part of this application. We've been active as a civil engineer on the project since early in 2018. So have quite the history going forward on this application. Just wanted to reiterate a comment that Aaron had made previously. I have testified in front of this body for most recently for an abandonment of a portion of Reed Street, and also have been qualified as an expert in civil engineering for the Board of Appeals for zoning matters. Aaron, did you?
Excellent. So we would move his admission as an expert in civil engineering.
So carrying on, this application is looking to abandon 9,123 square feet of previous Ridgefield right-of-way that will be assimilated into what is the Manor Care parcel on the northeast of the current Ridgefield Road, and also 5,891 square feet of a portion of Westbard Avenue, the purple piece that you see on the left of the exhibit on the right there, that will become a lot 24 block D. That piece is not currently contemplated for redevelopment. Its intention is to remain as open space and will be replanted. There was the correspondence from the utility companies. I just wanted to clarify again what Mr. Stiebel just testified to, that we have also been working with Pepco along with Washington Gas and Verizon so that the applicant will be responsible for the relocation of their current facilities underground within the limits of the new realigned Westbard Avenue. And subsequent to their relocation, the need for the current overhead will be removed and will no longer require the existing right-of-ways. As noted in WSSC's response, we're also working with the Development Services Group on a systems extension permit to relocate the existing water and sewer facilities out of the current dedication or roadway area and into the new area of dedication. Again, they will no longer require their facilities upon the relocation. Upon completion of the road construction and the utility relocation, the public need for the existing right-of-way will no longer be needed, and the public use will no longer be necessary.
Thank you, Kevin. Just finishing with the exhibit, this is the technical exhibit that we included in the submission showing the abandonment areas as well. So just to conclude, as noted, and really as shown probably best here, Equity One is dedicating much more land for the new roadway than they actually are seeking to abandon. The planning board has already approved for at least the part of Ridgefield Road to be abandoned, has approved for that to be included in a future redevelopment of the manor, what's known as the Manor Care site with townhouses. And as Kevin noted, the other is just expected to remain, again, obviously with grass and trees and what have you, So we feel that it's a pretty straightforward case. It's called for in the sector plan. It's called for in the entitlements, and under 4963 of the Montgomery County Code. It not only will no longer be necessary, the portions to be abandoned will no longer be necessary for present public use or anticipated public use. And subsection 2, it is consistent with the approved sector plan. So that concludes the bulk of our case. We are happy to answer any questions, and then we reserve the right for any rebuttal at the end after everyone else has testified.
Are there any questions for the applicant? But at this time, we'll hear public comments. We'll start with Phyllis Edelman.
Okay. All right. Can you hear me? Can you
Yes.
see me? I don't know.
you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Am I on screen or no?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. All right. My name is Phyllis Edelman. I'm a resident of Springfield, and from 2014 to 2017, I was president of the Springfield Civic Association. I'm testifying in support of the abandonment of portions of Westbard Avenue and Ridgefield Road. In 2014, as the charrettes for the Westbard sector plan unfolded, community members and I talked to planners about traffic issues we had at River Road, Ridgefield Road, and Westbard Avenue. Fortunately, these charrettes were held at Westwood 2, right where these traffic issues occur. So the planners had a bird's eye view of the problems. A too narrow right-hand turning lane from eastbound River Road to Ridgefield Road, making it impossible for the tractor trailers delivering to Giant food at the Westbard Shopping Center to turn without moving into the oncoming lane on Ridgefield Road, and an ever increasing volume of traffic on the 5500 block of Westbard Avenue between River Road and Ridgefield Road, which is a block of single family homes in Springfield. The developer, Equity One, was asking for a gateway to their redevelopment properties on Westwood 1. However, Ridgefield Road is really a gateway to the Springfield community. It extends at least a mile up, and there are lots of homes in Springfield that line Ridgefield Road. The planners came up with a solution: realign Westbard Avenue to flow into River Road, where it now meets Ridgefield Road. The Springfield residents on Westbard Avenue would get protection from the traffic volume, which will inevitably increase with redevelopment, and the developer would get its gateway. So if abandonment of portions of Westbard Avenue and Ridgefield Road will lead to the realignment of Westbard Avenue, I support the measure. Thank you for your time.
Ms. Green, you are next.
Hello. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to testify. I'm Cynthia Green. I'm the president of the Springfield Civic Association. The Springfield Civic Association supports the road abandonment and the new realigned Westbard Avenue. The new road will help to keep out cut-through traffic off of our residential streets. I live on the block of the 5500 block of Westbard Avenue, which is between River Road and Ridgefield Road. Over the years, the county traffic engineers have added many improvements to reduce cut-through traffic through our block. Sadly, none of these measures have reduced the traffic volume. There was a January 2020 traffic study that found that 9,645 vehicles came down our street during the week of the study. The study found that the volume of tractor trailers and buses had increased compared with the 2017 study. Once the realignment is completed, we will be allowed to close off our street at River Road as stated in the Westbard sector plan. This will make a big difference in our neighborhood. However, the new configuration does not have a plan to have a traffic light at the intersection at the new realigned road. This raises safety concerns since vehicles and pedestrians will be crossing up to 5 lanes of traffic without a traffic signal or even a pedestrian crossing. Also, the road curves and dips down the hill near the Kensington Senior Living Building, creating a blind spot. The delivery truck area is below the curve, blocking the sight line for drivers, bicyclists, and walkers. They won't be able to see the trucks coming out of the building. Therefore, it's very important to install a traffic signal at this intersection. It would prevent accidents and traffic backups at this intersection. Thank you very much.
One moment. Next we have Edward. I don't see him in our meeting at this moment. I'm not sure if that might be the caller on the phone. If that's you, caller, please unmute yourself. All right. Next, we have Mr. T. Reed Lewis. I'm not sure if we have that individual on the call also.
I think I think it's Ted Hermes is the speaker number 3. It didn't show up as Edward under the.
Is that correct? Okay, is that correct? My apologies, sir. I sent you a request to unmute yourself. All right.
Thank you. Good afternoon. This is Ted Hermes. Can you hear me? Sorry about that. Yeah, it's Edward, but I go by Ted. So I apologize. My screen shows Ted.
No worries.
Okay, thank you. Well, anyways, again, good afternoon and thank you. It's Edward Ted Hermes, and I'm here today to support the abandonment and the realignment of the road. I currently live at 5301 Ridgefield Road, and excuse me, been a resident of the community for over 16 years and have recently served as the traffic chair for the Springfield community as well. I will note, as has already been identified from the very beginning of this process, as this was looked at, the proposal for the Westbard realignment was fully supported by all of the communities, the planner and the developer in this case. There were numerous traffic studies, as I recalled, to confirm that the road would need to be realigned. It was clear that the current road, as set up, was really a community. It was a danger to our community. And furthermore, that it really wasn't designed to support the future development that is called for in the Westbard sector plan. And the only other thing I would add is that I believe at one point there was concern from the neighborhood across River Road that they expressed that maybe this realignment might increase traffic into their residential streets. And I would just add that I don't believe there's any support for that. And I would further add that, in fact, it's probably the opposite, that the improved Westbard Road will actually decrease cut-through traffic in all the surrounding communities. We have noticed that if you improve traffic flow to and from River Road, that decreases traffic in our residential neighborhoods. So again, thank you for your time. That's it.
Thank you. So I think the next speaker is T. Reed Lewis.
Do we have Mr. Lewis here?
I don't see Mr. Lewis in here. That may be the.
I don't see him on the list of participants, John.
Let's move on to Patricia Johnson.
All right, Ms. Johnson.
Hi. Hi, I think Ted Lewis just spoke. He goes by Ted instead of T. Reed Lewis.
No,
No?
no.
Who, oh, just spoke was Hermes, just spoke. Sorry, excuse me. My name is Pat Johnson, and I live in Kenwood. Thank you to the Department of Transportation and Mr. Dorsey for allowing my testimony. Thanks to the planning commissioners and staff for specifically addressing the safety issue in the 2016 Westbard sector plan of serious cut-through traffic in the Kenwood neighborhood. On page 119 of the sector plan, under the heading Neighborhood Protection, it stated, the Department of Transportation and the State Highway Administration should work with the Kenwood community to develop a design and operations plan for the River Road Brookside Drive intersection that better protects Kenwood from cut-through traffic. The Kenwood community appreciates the Planning Board's recognition of this problem. We look forward to working with SHA and DOT when they begin to redesign the intersection of River Road and Ridgefield Road. We request that current restrictive entry signs for specific hours into Kenwood placed at Ridgefield Road and the approach to River Road be retained. These signs have been in place for many years and conform to similar restrictions in surrounding communities. We want all the signs to stay in place, including the electronic arrow sign that is timed with the lights at Ridgefield and River Roads. We want the current signs and signal to be included in the realignment plans for Westbard Avenue. We also want the current signs to remain up and operable during the construction of that realignment. Kenwood is in a vulnerable location for cut-through traffic, which is looking for a quicker way to get to Bethesda and points north. Significant new density at the Westwood 2 Shopping Center and Kensington of Bethesda will increase that cut-through traffic. Just to note, with the closing of Little Falls Parkway to vehicles these past 8 months, Kenwood has experienced a surge of commuter traffic and trucks that speed through residential streets that don't have sidewalks. SHA and DOT need to come up with solutions that will protect the safety of Kenwood at this high volume intersection. When construction of the alignment is underway, we request that commercial and workmen's vehicles be given an area to park on site. Parking of such vehicles should not be allowed on neighborhood streets. There's a need for a traffic light at the realigned Westbard Avenue, where it curves at the top and between the new townhomes on the right and the new Kensington Bethesda building on the left. A light is there now for pedestrian safety. A light should be there for people walking to and from the new Westwood Center and the Kensington building. Because of the closure at the Westbard extension off River Road and the new developments, there will be an increased backup of trucks at the intersection of River Road and the realigned Westbard Avenue. Are the turning lanes from both directions on River Road long enough to handle the truck backup? How will trucks turn into the new senior living building off Westbard? Will left-hand turn into the delivery area off Westbard be allowed? There's a time restriction there now for turns at that site. Another question, what will happen to lot 24 block D, which you just answered, and we were really happy to hear it will remain green space for stormwater management. So thank you for that. Also, no taxpayers' money should be used for this realignment. This is a good amenity for the developer. It's a gateway to their new communities of commercial and residential buildings. Thank you very much for letting me testify.
Ms. Johnson, next we'll have
Miss Battle.
Lynn Battle.
Good afternoon. I'm Lynn Battle and I live in Westbard Mews on Westbard Avenue. So I am directly impacted by all of this development and by the abandonment and proposed realignment. I'm speaking here today on behalf of the Westbard Study Group. We have submitted comments as well, but we want to stress three important issues which should be paid attention to as this abandonment takes place and as the realigned Westbard Avenue is rebuilt. First, as has been noted by other speakers, it is critical for the health, safety, and welfare of the residents of this community that a traffic light be put in at the intersection of the proposed realigned Westbard and Ridgefield Road. This is a place where pedestrians cross, including school children, and to do so will be extremely dangerous without a traffic light being put in there. Also, cars coming down Ridgefield wishing to turn left on Westbard to reach River Road will have a very difficult time, if not impossible time, doing so without a stoplight. It is not sufficient to wait for a year and study this issue. This light needs to be put in at the time that the reconstruction and reopening of Westbard is done. Secondly, we strongly believe that there needs to be attention paid during construction to the Willett Branch Greenway Park, which is the single most important public benefit of this entire redevelopment. When the road is rebuilt, it will have to be constructed over the Kenwood Branch stream as it flows into the Willett Branch at the beginning of the proposed Greenway Park, which is adjacent to this, this piece of land that is going to be realigned, this piece of road. During construction, the flow of one stream into another should be made into a small waterfall feature, which would set off the beginning of the park and create an inviting entranceway into what is supposed to be this little jewel that we're supposed to get in our community. So it is our understanding that if that is not done while this road is being reconstructed, the proposed waterfall will probably never be possible. So again, this should be done at the time that the realigned road is rebuilt, and all the costs associated should be paid for by the developers. Finally, as has been mentioned before, the road abandonment will create a new area, lot 24, block D, on which no construction is contemplated. I am pleased to hear it is going to be kept as open space. We believe it should be used for stormwater management for the road as a whole. Indeed, at the hearing on the preliminary plan, members of the planning board advocated that the developer use stormwater management best practices for the new Westbard Avenue, in keeping with the sector plan, which states that stormwater management treatment should be done on site wherever feasible, and the use of waivers should be limited. If this is not done, road runoff is likely to go down into the newly established Greenway Park, adversely affecting the water quality and also recreational use of the park. So accordingly, we believe that the best practices for stormwater management should be prepared for on this particular parcel, and that should be done now. So I appreciate your attention to this matter and hope you'll support these three critical recommendations. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we'll have Peter Resick.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, sir, we can.
So I'd like to ask you to move your telescope, read where it is, but pull it up into the air instead of 1,000 feet in the air. Look about from 10,000 feet in the air and 20,000 and 30,000 feet, and broaden the view from just this 1 square mile area to 10 square miles, to 20 square miles, 30 square miles. This is taking place in the context of tremendous ill-fated growth in lower Montgomery County. We're driving density. This entire project is about driving density, and it's very unfortunate. We've got this project, the Westbard project. We've got the Manor Care redevelopment, 85 floors, I guess, 112 units, only 91 parking spots. We've got a lot of the other density issues and I'm here in Kenwood, we just got a tremendous amount of pressure on the River Road side and the Bradley Boulevard side. And we got a lot of cut-through traffic. And I'd like you to just think about this in terms of density and where we are and where we're going. In our neighborhood, I think Pat Johnson mentioned, we've got a real problem with cut-through traffic and motorist behavior and safety. And the closing of Little Falls recently to cars on weekends has exacerbated that. And it's shown us that we've got a very serious problem. We've got lots of pedestrians and some very narrow streets. One of the most narrow streets, in fact, is Brookside, which is right across from this new artery that you propose to feed right into River. There are no sidewalks. There are lots of walkers, joggers. There are all sorts of people who come through this neighborhood. And I'd like you to think about, please, some of the safety issues that we're encountering, and please consider some of that. I think, Pat, you mentioned the 2016 section plan. A few other speakers did as well. The DOT and SHA, I think, pledged to work with us. And we really have some larger traffic calming issues that have not been addressed. And contrary to what Mr. Teese just testified, I'm sorry, but this project is going to exacerbate those traffic issues. We're going to have problems during construction. We're going to need more parking. I guarantee you're going to have construction folks parking over on Highland Drive right in Kenwood. It's already a busy little tight intersection. And we're going to have a lot of cut through. So just please, the signage that Pat's talking about needs to be, if not just recommitted to, but it needs to be enforced, and it probably needs to be ratcheted up a little bit. So think about the safety, think about the parking, think about some of the cut-through ramifications that are going to occur as a result of this. Thank you.
Thank you. So is there anyone else here on the call that would like to speak that haven't added their name to the list? If so, use the raise your hand feature.
If you're unable to locate that feature, you're welcome to message in a chat and I will go ahead and unmute you. I have not received anything in the chat. I'm not sure if the caller on the phone is interested in speaking. I'm not sure if they have the option to use some of those features. Kevin Johnson.
I'm sorry, I was just responding to your earlier message. I'm sorry, I'm just a little late to the game.
Okay, no worries.
So if there's no one else wishing to speak at this time, we'll hear comments back from the rebuttal from the applicant.
Thank you very much, Aaron Jordan again, and I'll be brief. There's a number of concerns that were expressed that are valid with regard to, working with the county and all of that for Kenwood. I just would note, they don't directly relate to the findings that need to be made for this abandonment. And the same goes for Ms. Battle's comments about what should or should not be included in the reconstruction of the realignment and the stormwater management on the parcel to be abandoned. In my experience, I've never seen the county condition an abandonment on doing something once the area is abandoned. I don't think it's appropriate or allowed for in the law. So I just would note that that we think we meet the required standards for the abandonment without any additional conditions being added aside from the ones, from the utilities about realignment and what have you. And then I would just note, I understand the traffic light situation. I believe that MCDOT has decided that that is required. As far as my client is concerned, we were always required to put in the infrastructure for that if it was warranted. So we're, completely fine with that. Again, it doesn't really relate to the abandonment findings, but I just wanted to note that fact. And I think that was included in one of the exhibits as well, that DOT had suggested that that was going to be necessary. So that's really all I had.
Okay, thank you. All right, once again, for those who are interested in being heard but didn't want to speak, you can submit written comments to Eric Willis at Montgomery County, Department of Transportation, 100 Edison Park Drive, 4th floor, Gaithersburg, Maryland, 20874, or by email at eric.willis@montgomerycountymd.gov by close of business 5 p.m. December 29th, 2020. The record will remain open till such time that date and time has passed. This concludes the public hearing.
Sorry, Mr. Dorsey, I just wanted to make one other point that at the close of the public record, we will be posting the exhibits that are done today, plus any additional comments that are made. And so those will be posted up onto our website at the close of the public record.
Thank you, Eric, for that reminder. So this concludes the public hearing for the abandonment of Westbard Avenue and Ridgefield Road. Thank you.
Thank you.
One moment. Okay. I don't know if Eric is gonna. Oh, sorry, sorry, Jesse. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem at all. I was just going to ask if you guys wanted a copy of the transcript.